You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, happy belated Easter, dude.
Yeah, same to you, man.
It's Monday. We are recording this for you guys after we've gotten some news on the dev update. The Easter event is now live, Bordy. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. So let's hop right in here with the news. Well, Bordy, like I said, the Easter event is live. Just a neat, cute little event that corrupted all the rabbits in a turnip. And there's some finer details in here, Bordy, that may not be cute. We'll talk a little bit about this. So overall, the event is basically straightforward. All the rabbits in a turnip are now corrupted rabbits, and they have a chance to drop a couple of different things. One of which is a defiled rabbit's foot. It is a consumable that will increase your luck by 5% if you're level 60 by 40 minutes. You can drop 5 of these a day, so they are limited, Bordy. But it's nice to see a luck cooldown that's widely available on a daily basis. So, what are your thoughts on the first thing you obtained during the Easter event, which would be the luck rabbit's foot?
I like it, man, because I'm about to be a man on a mission going on a whole bunch of luck runs. I know you've been doing a lot of luck runs recently, Red, so you probably have a lot more insight there than I do in terms of how valuable you think those luck feet are going to be that you get. But I'm about to be going on a lot of luck runs because I'm a man on a mission to get all the trophies in the game. So I'm excited. It couldn't have come at a better time for me. I'm excited to be getting those items, and I've just been stacking them. So I've already done the whole grind to get the mystical chest. I know maybe you haven't been so lucky, but I've gotten mine. So now every day I'm just going out and getting my rabbit's feet. So I'm just going to stack those bad boys, and I'm happy they're here, dude. I'm excited because luck food is typically pretty expensive. So I'm glad that I can get it for free.
The turkey legs are the only accessible luck consumable. Yeah. And they were usually like 1,000 to 2,000, depending on right. How many got duped that week or whatever, but but basically, so this is way more accessible. It's a great, a nice little thing to add into the event. The one thing though, and I gotta say this is like in the similar vein to the winter event, right? Is the chest. The chest is a random drop. It is a cool item. It is like what I think would be considered to be, like a max storage chest, right? So it's kind of cool to have access to these through an event. But unfortunately, I think the drop rate is just way too low. It's similar to the amount of tokens you had to farm during the winter event to get a lot of the cosmetics that you wanted. It just became a point where it's like, I don't know, man. For these events, I would like to see them a little bit more casual friendly, to where you can get the unique item, not feel bad, get an opportunity to get some farming in and a little bit of grind in, but it's just in the same vein as the winter event, where it just feels like the chest drop rate is just ridiculously low. I'm at 1,000 rabbits right now, and I don't have the chest.
Yeah, I was able to kill about 360 in day one, and I was able to get the chest. Thank goodness. I've seen some people in stream telling me they killed like 4 rabbits and got the chest to drop on day one. Honestly. Yeah, very tilting, very tilting. But there has also been people that have said they've killed like 2,000 plus rabbits, etc. And I think that's probably a lot more common than the 4 rabbits to get the chest. But I would agree, man. I feel like I don't know how else they would do it though. Maybe make it I don't know. Do you make it a guaranteed drop after you kill so many rabbits or something, or just increase the drop rate so that people get it sooner? Because I do know a lot of people who have killed in the neighborhood of 1 to 500 rabbits, they got the drop, right? So to me, that seems pretty reasonable. I think whenever you get on up into the thousands of rabbits killed, it gets a little bit old and people get a little bit tired of killing rabbits just to get the chest. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe just increase the rate a little bit, but I would agree, like, these events should be a lot of fun and very rewarding, and not so much of like this crazy hard grind to get something done.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the thing that I would change is just increase the drop rate of the chest. It's fine for like people to like get lucky and get it in the 10th chest. I don't think it's fine for casual players to need to possibly kill 1,000 rabbits to get the chest, because it is, you know, there's a lot of people out there farming, so sometimes it's just hard to find a spot to farm on the higher population servers. And then you talk about the sheer amount of time to get that. It just I feel like it could be titrated just a little bit in favor of the player versus the sheer amount of numbers you got to kill for the rabbit to drop the chest.
Right. There still is a reason to farm the rabbits too, if you get the chest though, which is why like increasing the drop rate wouldn't be a bad idea, because you're still going to farm rabbits after you get the chest for the food and for the gypsum, which are both very valuable things to get every single day. So it's not like once you get the chest, the whole event is like done. You know, you still have a reason to farm them, which I think is cool. I love the fact you just get additional stuff out of there. And I do like the fact that they're tying the diamond gypsum into different things all the time. I think that's a pretty neat idea. It kind of breaks up the grind for your diamond every day, and I like that a lot. I think it's pretty dope. But yeah, I think just overall the event to me has been pretty fun. I think it's cool to have these events in the game, but I do agree, like maybe just tweak the drop rate a little bit and make it more of a fun, rewarding thing, you know.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, you should probably, in my opinion, for like events, seasonal events, reasonably you should be able to log in about, you know, an hour each day, do whatever the event asks you to do, and then kind of be able to feel like you've made progress during the seasonal event. And I remember we have some people in our company that are like hardcore like completionists, and they spent like insane amount of hours grinding out the winter convergence stuff, which was another thing that I felt like was a little bit too grindy, you know what I mean? To get like a lot of the items in the shop, and maybe it's intentional, like they didn't want you to get all the items. Maybe they'll come back with the same items next time. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a little bit more casual friendly is what my request would be. I love the events. I love having new things to do in Eternum and New World. That's not my complaint. My complaint is just that, like, you know, just the overall event to be a little bit more friendly to the casual players. Because I think we all know that's the majority of the people that play MMOs.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Bordy. So we got a lot to talk about with the dev update. So let's hop right in there with the main topic of the week. And I hit the wrong drops, but anyways, it is what it is. All right. So this week, as per now tradition, they introduced another dev update, dude. Perfect, man. I wanted to hit this from the jump. Their willingness to put themselves out there every month and make these videos for us should be applauded. It's amazing. The consistency in which they do this, the transparency in which they show, is fantastic. AGS, I feel like as much as it's like cool to meme on them sometimes, any hate that they would receive is undeserved. They do a great job with these. There's no difference here. We got a lot of new information on some upcoming activities and current processes in the game. So let's just hop right in here. We'll go through an article that Mala posted over at New World Fans. So they did a deep dive in the coming event. Now I thought there's some interesting stuff here, Bordy. April's just going to be quality of life stuff. So, you know, one of the things that I thought was a little weird was like how much they hyped up being zoomed in on the map to the territory. I've never even I don't know. I've never felt like that was something I would complain about. But then during the dev update, they're like, thank goodness that's fixed. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. I don't know. I had no opinion on the map being zoomed in or out whenever I got into a territory, but apparently, Bordy, that's fixed now. So happy days.
Yeah, for sure. So it has been something that I have seen. It has been something that I have seen requested a whole lot for people to like, just, it's like a quality of life thing, right? To me, doesn't really matter too much either. Whenever I open up the map, if I'm in a settlement, I usually just like zoom in automatically if I need to see where I'm going. So it hasn't been that big of a deal. But I have seen it requested a lot by a lot of people on like Reddit and the forums and whatever. For those people that have requested that, I'm happy that they have that now in the game, or it's going to be in the game. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited for that to be in the game, as small as of a thing as it may be. But yeah, I agree, man. It hasn't been a big issue for me personally, but I do see like, they're trying to add more quality of life stuff in the game, which is dope.
Yes, and the next one I am extremely excited about because I heal a little bit on the side, and they basically have changed the way targeting worked in healing. This is something that they mentioned to where there would now be keys, I believe, assigned to each person in your group so you can directly target someone. Dude, I've been asking for this forever. I'm a healer in almost every MMO that I play. I just enjoy doing it, but New World, it never felt good to heal. The targeting system feels pretty wonky. And this, in my opinion, is the redemption of healing in New World. What is your take on the improvements to the healing system?
Dude, I think it's fantastic, man. It is something that's been a pain point for a lot of people for a long time. I don't heal usually in video games, so it's not like a big deal to me. Again, personally, it doesn't like resonate or hit home for me, and like I'm super excited for it because I don't heal. But I am incredibly excited for like just the overall gameplay that it's going to provide for the healers and for people that come into the game like late, maybe, that have this another really great quality of life adjustment. So yeah, I think it's fantastic to have it in the game. It's something that should have been in the game maybe for a long time, but now we're getting it, and I'm excited that you guys at Heal are getting it because I think it is a huge addition to the game for sure.
Yeah, it just the mouse wheel, the healing is it's just too clunky when someone's life kind of depends on yours, or your performance. So
yeah,
it's a great change. Along with these changes, they did mention that there was over 1,500 bug fixes. So total, I think 2,200 bug fixes between the two quality of life patches. That would have been February and now April. So obviously, dude, they're pushing in the direction. We talk about this a lot, to where they're going to find a common ground, or like a steady place to be with New World and the performance and the quality of life things in the game. So it's just exciting as a player to obviously it'll be good to see how much those bug fixes improve in performance in wars, OPR, open world, and stuff like that. Because it's, when they say 1,500 bugs, that sounds like a lot and it all sounds good, but how does that affect my daily play is going to be the most interesting thing to see, I think. One thing they did mention is that, they did the free weekend, and they obviously thought that was great, and they have more plans to do more events like that. They did not say specifically another double XP weekend, but they did mention opportunities such as like trade skill improvement, trade skill leveling and stuff like that. So I think, Bordy, great news on the player front to get more mini events like this out into the players.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. We all know how the free-to-play event went, but hopefully they learned a lot from that. And having those types of events, I think, is really big for just the overall marketing of the game to bring new players in. So I was excited to hear that too. I'm glad they're going to continue to do those types of things along with seasonal events, etc. I feel like the MMO is getting there. It's coming into its own. They're fixing all the bugs, or not all the bugs, but they're getting some of the bugs fixed. Most of the bugs fixed. They're doing a lot of quality of life stuff. They're setting this fantastic foundation to continue to kind of get the game ready for future big content updates, which is very exciting to me. I think it may not be exciting to a lot of people from the outside looking in, oh man, New World hasn't added a ton of content yet, but I think they're getting ready to, man, and I think they're taking the right path by getting all this stuff done first before they start dropping a ton of new content. So I think it's an exciting time for New World right now. Because they're continuing to fix all these bugs, and I think the game is almost in a fantastic spot to just start pumping out content, which is exciting.
Well, it's kind of like that building your house on sand type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If they keep adding new stuff to the game, it just continues to get more and more broken, which I think we were actually seeing. with the addition to the Void Gauntlet and other patches like that, Gypsum and the game was just felt worse and worse and more. It was causing more and more people to leave, and now we've kind of hit that trough or whatever. As they have started to put out the quality of life improvements. And then, March was a great patch, dude. I don't think anybody would deny that. Just a really, really healthy patch for the game. It brought out a new weapon. The timing of the double XP event was perfect. And it really started to that upturn again, pulling, some people back into the game. And I think they continue to focus on quality, not quantity, for the time being until they do get a solid foundation in place. And then they drop like the August update, the one that we think that, obviously the new zone, the new weapon, etc. is going to come out in. I think it could be a really big time for people to come back to New World. So exciting stuff there. Speaking of new activities in the game, Bordy, they did talk a little bit more about Rabbit's Revenge. They did say they're gonna, do more activities like this, like mini events, not so much seasonal events. Like I would say a major event would be something like the Winter's Convergence, right? Where there's just tons of there's their own vendor, or their own mobs, setups, and stuff like that. Rabbit's Revenge would be a mini event. They did mention they're going to try to do more events like this. Obviously, too, they did say that they were going to put out more major events, such as like a summer event, and then of course like a Hallows Eve or Halloween event in the fall too. So exciting stuff like that. But most importantly, dude, one that's near and dear to our house, or Heart's house, near and dear to our house. I don't know what the fudge I was thinking. Anyways, is arenas, dude. They confirmed again that arenas were going to be in it, and dude, there's exciting details here, Bordy, that it's going to be fun to discuss with you. So arenas are 3v3. I think we knew that for the most part. They are going to have their own currency. They said PvP, Saul. I pray that that's not the name of the currency, dude. You know what I mean? I'm fine. Please, I can tolerate the what is it? Better improvement or home improvement network stuff. Like that's fine. The memes of the fashion and everything, and the videos on Twitter, I can tolerate. Just don't bring that meme stuff into the game, please.
Yeah, I hope not to.
So hopefully there is a PvP currency, which is very positive. There's a reward track, which hopefully, dude, I'm hoping are some like unique, cool looking cosmetics that PvP people can earn, as well as hopefully good PvP gear, similar to the OPR boxes. And dude, here's the format for arenas. We'll talk about a little bit more about the rewards, I guess, after this. But the arena format is as followed. It'll be 3v3, best of 5. So first person to 3 wins or 3 round wins the match. Bordy. So, dude, I think this is perfect. It sounds like a elimination type of a scoring system potentially. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the whole team gets wiped, then that's the end of the round. And then you're gonna get a best of 3, which should eliminate any like meme activity, right? If you get killed like in 1 second in the first round, there's some counterplay at that point, right? Which I think is great.
Yeah, man, I like it. So that was one of the big questions I had in my mind whenever they first announced arenas, and a lot of these were that I think we'll get into here in a minute. But that was one of the big ones. Like, how are they going to structure arenas? Is it going to be like a team deathmatch type of thing, and it's going to be timed, and the team that has the most kills at the end wins, or what? This type of setting, I think, is perfect for like a really highly competitive setting for the future. Like having the like elimination style rounds, I think really is a very competitive way to do it, versus respawning and coming back. Because there's a lot of ways to cheese it whenever you're respawning and coming back. People can kind of camp your respawns. People can do all kinds of crazy stuff, and making it in this manner is great. And then also making it best out of 5. I like that as well. Like not best out of 3, best out of 5. That gives people a chance to come back. And I think that really at the end of the day, the better team should win most of those best out of 5s. You know what I mean? Like I think there's always opportunity in other game modes for maybe less skill, but more cheese to happen sometimes, and in this type of setting, I feel like, I'm sure we'll see some cheese in there too, but I feel like it's going to be much more of a competitive environment, which I am 100% down with. I like it, man. I like that format, and I was excited to hear it. Cleared up a lot of questions I had for it.
Yes, and I think, one of the things that's important for people to note is there isn't a ranking. There is a progression system for rewards, but the ranking system for PvP won't be in until August.
So what do you think about that? Are you okay with it coming in later like that?
Yes, I'm actually prefer it this way, because here's the thing: is you don't want to introduce rank right from the jump when you're trying to set to make sure that things are balanced and that the rule sets, like, maybe they find out, well, to get these like more consistently weighted towards the people that are more skilled or something, maybe we need to do best out of 7, or you know what I mean, or maybe like we need to set some more limitations to what we allow in there, like consumables or something like that, like potions. Meaning. So
I agree 1,000%. Yeah,
it'll just give them time to work out those flaws in the system before ranked happens, which I think is great. Also, there might be of course performance issues, heaven forbid. And balancing and all those types of things, specifically for arenas. And I think there's going to be a lot of those things you're going to learn from as these kind of more casual arenas are in there. It gives them a great time, because it gives them a great window to kind of learn from that before they implement rank. So I couldn't agree more, man. I'm glad they're taking this approach versus just throwing in like, hey, here's some ranked competitive play. People would tilt. I think it just wouldn't go over well. So I'm glad they're doing it this way, man. Well, and here's an ongoing conversation with competitive games and balancing and stuff like this that is kind of has been more of a tried and true method. I learned this while I was playing Overwatch, right? And so basically, like, having these sweaty type of game modes in the game, like 3v3, really will put a spotlight on some broken weapon and interaction mechanics, because just the more you place people in a competitive environment, the more they are willing to change the way that they play to accommodate like a broken meta or a broken type of thing. Like OPR and wars, like there's a different meta in the wars than there is in the OPR, and OPR is again like more of a like a 20v20. It's like a battleground. You can get away with some builds in there that you wouldn't necessarily try in arenas. I think arenas, you're going to have to be sweaty to be successful. And then that should shine a light on some of the more broken things in the game that hopefully they can get balanced out before then. And I really do think it just makes the game better at that point, because then you have this means to get data that is more accurate than like if you were to take like a meta sample right now.
I agree. Yep.
So I'm excited. Obviously, dude, we're gonna get that on the PTR real soon. I would think maybe even before the end of the month, because if that patch is supposed to hit May. In May. So I think we'll be able to try out arenas real quick. I can't wait to get in there and play around and mess around with the new system. Another new system that they did say was coming in May, which I think a lot of people thought was coming later, is Expedition Finder. The Expedition Finder will be in the May update. And this is an interesting one to me, Bordy, because I think this was one of those features I was kind of not expecting to see until they figured out a solution with cross server play. But we are getting it now in May. So what are your thoughts on the Expedition Finder and what that's going to look like in the current landscape of servers?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, because I thought maybe the same thing. I think overall it'll be good. I for one am for it. I know we kind of had a little bit of a conversation about this on Ginger Prime's podcast the other day, and he made some good points. But overall, and I think he's kind of against it. Or maybe not so much against it, but he just was hoping for a little bit more unique, which I think all of us were. But I feel like now with the current landscape of the game, how things are with the game now, the direction that the MMO is headed, I feel like a group finder makes perfect sense. I'm interested to see how they're going to incorporate them with the orbs, with the tuning orbs. They didn't elaborate on that very much. Are they still going to allow people to buy orbs? I wouldn't mind so much if there was like a way to even set a cost for your orb or for the slot, like I think that might actually be kind of neat, and also weed out some of the people that are potentially coming in that don't have the gear score, kind of trolling or whatever. They're paying for their slot, so they're going to want. It adds more incentive to complete the dungeon, I think. So I think it adds a little bit more incentive to have good groups. I'm not a fan of tuning orbs at all. I said that from the get-go. I'm not a fan of them, but because they're in the game now, I think there are some positives that can come out of tuning orbs if they implement them in this group finder in a pretty neat way. And then you can even have the option to like give away free slots for your orb. But it begs the question too, like, is this the patch that they're going to come out and say, well, now tuning orbs are no longer needed?
Right.
But they're just an addition to, because they didn't say anything about that in the dev blog, but it's like, well, it makes sense for this patch to be with this group finder patch for it to be the situation where now orbs aren't needed. And they're like, you use an orb to get better loot out of the dungeon, which I think could be cool too, man. If they implement orbs in that way, I think it'll be awesome. I think the orb system will actually turn out to be a big positive for the game versus the negative that it's been for such a long time. So I don't know. There's still a lot of unanswered questions for the group finder system. So we'll have to see how that plays out in May, but I know we'll be on there on the PTR testing out and seeing what happens. But I think it's fine. I think it's going to be an exciting addition to the game again.
Well, and it does seem like they're going to have this system in place just to help you find a group, because you still need to, I think, transport to the dungeon by yourself, which shouldn't be a big problem.
Right.
Well,
there's shrines right beside the dungeon now. Yeah.
With the shrine changes and everything should be pretty easy. And then at that point, I think that one person that transfers there will have the opportunity to put in the orb, like you said. I don't know if they're going to have that opportunity. You know, I don't know if they're going to have that option available now or later, but they did mention what you spoke of, which is orbs would no longer be a gate of entry. It'll be more of a like, I want more rewards, which at this point orbs are so available.
Yeah, it's not a big deal anymore, to be honest.
It's not really a big deal anyways. Yeah, exactly. So,
but I don't think they'll add that now, because I think the way it's going to work now, from what I gathered, is that the person that has the orb is going to go to the dungeon to create the group. So you have to have an orb to even create the group for the group finder, I think is how it's going to work right now. But hopefully we'll see like more iterations on that in the future and like more like additions to the group finder. But adding it into the game is definitely, I think, a good thing, man. I think it's going to be great for the game overall.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that, you know, you have to be careful for sure with features like this. I kind of was having a discussion about it on stream, and it was about mounts. And the thing about mounts, yeah, exactly. It's an age-old discussion. But anyways, you know, one of the things that really I think hurt World of Warcraft in the long run was flying mounts. Flying mounts made the open world dead, basically. Yeah. And yes, Group Finder and all those other things don't help, but you have to be careful with the amount of systems like this that you put in the game, because it can kill the open world. And a New World is, you know, at its core, you know, an open world game that's kind of, you know, transitioning to a theme park. And they do want to, with Raffle Bones and all these other features, you can tell that they do have some emphasis placed on remaining, you know, Eternum or the open world in Eternum remaining an interesting place to be. And they just have to be careful, I think. You know, I do think Expedition Finder will be good for the game, but I do think they have to be real careful with the next move and making sure, because now they have instanced arenas, instance OPR, instance expeditions, so they really have to, you know, just make sure as they add new content that they are also adding open world stuff to make it more interesting to go out and do PvP missions, to go out and, like, you know, farm or gather and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely a fine line there, without a doubt, because they have put a lot of effort into the world building, and Eternum is probably one of the coolest MMO settings I've ever seen in terms of like just the world design and the sound design and all that stuff. So you really still want to highlight those things, because I do think those are the things that make this MMO so much different than other MMOs. Coupled with the combat, you know, I think that New World is unique in a lot of ways. So you're right. You don't want to make it just another cookie cutter MMO where you're just skipping all the content and just doing instant stuff all the time. But it's like a fine line between convenience and then and playability or exploration. And hopefully they'll struggle to get it right. Hopefully they won't go too far down that path. But overall, I do think an expedition finder is good for the game, because absolutely. It's the same. There's no difference than getting into recruitment chat and spamming that you're looking for a group. You know what I mean? It's the same exact situation, only it's just easier to do. It should be faster and more convenient to do. So you ought to be able to get into dungeons quicker, which I like.
Yeah, I 100%. It'll be interesting to see what filters they placed on this finder too. I think that's like you're saying, it's basically just a more refined way to find an expedition group. And part of that refinement is the way that you can filter the people you're looking for. So,
and they said that they're going to do it by roles, right? Didn't they say that in the video? That they're going to have a role
and item level, and
which is nice. Yeah, all that stuff is really good. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what parameters they feel like are necessary as opposed to what the players think. But the final thing that they had was they opened up the community, or they opened up the stream to community questions, and one of them was weapon balancing, Bordy. They mentioned the only weapon they mentioned, sadly, was the bow. The bow. They said that the bow was not strong enough or not up to their par of standard or whatever to the rest of the weapons. So obviously a lot of bow players excited to hear that, dude. But what we didn't hear about was the ice gauntlet, ice shower specifically. So I think a lot of people are concerned about that, the lack of what they said. But hopefully, hopefully, that was just an oversight, and they can figure out a solution to shower, because that's plaguing the meta right now at the moment. Yeah,
we'll see. I think it was a little bit disappointing to not hear anything about it, and I don't know, man. We'll see as time goes on. I do think that it'll get addressed at some point, so I'm not too terribly concerned about it. I think that you were talking a little bit earlier about how arenas would shine a light on things that are kind of broken or overused in the game. And I do think that that's going to be the case if nothing's done with Ice Shower. I think you'll see a lot of ice gauntlets in arenas. But we'll see. I think that'll get adjusted over time. I have this conversation on Stream Live too, and I feel like some of the problem, not all the problem, I feel like some of the problem for Ice Gauntlet still is like desync and performance issues. Like I feel like sometimes it doesn't function properly because of desync, but obviously, that's not the only issues with Ice Gauntlet. I think that's a whole other conversation we could have. But yeah, I don't know, man. Balancing is always a thing they're going to do to the game. It's just going to be this ongoing battle until the end of time. So I don't worry about it too much or get too worked up whenever I don't hear them mention a specific weapon or something, because I know it'll get addressed like later on in the future.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things that they've done a great job with weapon balancing so far. So I have no doubt that eventually they will overcome that, whatever the problem is in the current meta, because we've had already like 4 or 5 different metas in the game, and in the game, it's only 6 months old. So I think they'll change that overall. The only other thing that they mentioned, Bordy, during that was the other community question was transfers, region, non-regional, and token transfers, and this was another very positive thing. Regional transfers are almost here. Most of the groundwork will be in April's update, and we will be opening them up soon after. So that almost seems like it's going to happen before the May update. Paid character transfers will be in the store soon after the update as well. So, dude, this is something that needs to be in the game. We all know that. It's what people that want to be in the game and are fine with paying for. Honestly, I think people are just ready to have the opportunity to transfer when they want to transfer, right? As opposed to waiting to the will of getting the opportunity to transfer when it's merged or when free tokens are sent out. So this is a very positive thing, dude, in my opinion, with not only just regional transfers, but across region transfers.
Yeah, I agree, man. Having the opportunity to just buy transfer tokens, then hopefully they'll just unlock all of the servers. And then if servers get too overloaded, people then have the opportunity to just buy the transfer and move off if they want to, if there's a queue or whatever. You put the decision back into the players' hands versus just having them make the decision to lock servers all the time or do whatever. And I think that's fantastic, right? Like it should help alleviate a lot of the server issues that I think we have seen over the course of the last last few months, and hopefully servers will begin to stabilize, as well as mergers, man. They just did another round of huge mergers, so now there's not a bazillion empty servers sitting out there, which is, I think, is another huge positive. So all this stuff is getting fixed. I still don't think like transfers and cross-region transfers and all that is like a long-term solution to the problem. But it is a step in the right direction, I think. So I think it'll definitely help solve some things in the short term, no doubt. So I'm glad, man. I'm excited for that. That was a big positive too. One thing before we kind of move on and wrap it up or whatever, Red, is I wanted to ask you this too about arenas. I'll double back to arenas real fast. They did mention too in there, which was another question mark in my mind, is how to queue up for arenas, right? Like, is it going to be only queuing up in teams, or are you going to be able to queue up in pairs of threes or whatever? So they said that you could solo queue or queue up with a full team. So what do you think about that with the arena? Do you think you should be able to solo queue, not solo queue? Do you think you should have to queue with the team? Like, what is your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's fine to solo queue for people that don't want to find a group. You know what I mean? I think ideally, if we're all being completely honest, it'll be ran by pre-mades. Feature in the game will definitely be ran by pre-mades. But if you don't want to find a pre-made, or you can't, maybe you just want to queue up and do a few arenas to get the rewards, there will be an option for you to wait for the game to pre-make your group or match you up with other people. So I think it's fine to have that feature in the game. I think that's great. I just don't know, from a practicality standpoint, how good it will be, but I'm glad that option is available for other players for sure.
Yeah, I like it too. I hope in the future they do add like multiple game modes where it's only like a solo queue only type of game mode. That way when you queue up,
that's the problem, I think.
Yeah, you're not going in with a random group and getting matched up with a pre-made team, because that can be frustrating. If like you don't have a full 3-stack, there are people out there that I know it's an MMO and people can make the argument all day long, well, you should meet people to play. I understand that, but some people enjoy the solo queue life. And enjoy that sort of challenge because it does make it kind of random every time. So hopefully there'll be like a playlist at some point that you can just queue up and it'll be only solo queue, right? Like not 1v1s, but like solo queue where it's 3v3, but the whole team is random every single time. That could be frustrating, but it'd make both sides more even because then there's no communication going on either side unless you like get that going on the fly type of situation. So that'd be like the only like request I have. But overall, I think it's fantastic if you can do that from the beginning. Because I think there'll be times that I'll just want to solo queue, be like, yo, dude, I'm going to try. Let's just see what happens, Let's just see what happens. We'll solo queue. We'll see what kind of group we get with and then just have a little fun with it. And so I think it's fine, especially for like non-ranked, non-competitive play. I think it's dope.
Yeah, and that's when I think it'll be important. Like two things in my mind will become more evident or more important for them to get that solo like playlist involved. Number one would be whenever the servers when you get cross server activity, right? Mm-hmm. Then it'll be obviously if the arenas are queued up between servers or inter region versus just on inter server. Then, obviously having a solo playlist that's ranked separately from a pre-made playlist will be awesome to have. So hopefully they can get that in as well. Yeah. But, again, ranking is another thing that is important once it gets in the game at that point too, because then, if you're queuing in as a solo player into a ranked format, you would ideally want to be matched up with other people who are queuing solo too. Yeah, and those are the two things that if they are going to add a feature like that to where a solo queue people only queue up for solo queue people, then I think that would be the perfect time to implement that. Would be when they implement ranked or when they implement like cross server queuing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, dude. Well, that about does it for this week. A lot of exciting news again about the May patch. I'm extremely happy that they gave more details on Arena, and dude, I'm even more excited for a couple of weeks or even maybe a week at this point, where we're gonna get that May patch on the PTR, and we're gonna get to see how arenas work, man. So
it's gonna be exciting.
Can't wait for that. All right, so let's hop over to the Company of the Week. All right, Bordy. Well, this week's Company of the Week is
Eldritch.
Eldritch.
They are, the Region EU faction syndicate. So this is an EU region. We haven't had one of these in a while. So it says that they were created by a group of friends with experience playing at the highest level in multiple games, from Mythic WoW rating to high-ranking League of Legends play. We strive to be the best. Recently, a lot of us moved from World of Warcraft onto bigger and better things. They found a home in the community in New World. They value the community above all else. They hope to invite committed players into their ranks. It says they're recruiting right now, recruiting all people. And they said their leadership roles available, their goals, they're a large, friendly community striving to be the best from launch. They said they have their own, they want to own settlements that they can call home. And it looks like they're just trying to be overall fairly competitive. So if that sounds like a good fit for you, go check them out. They are Eldritch, playing on the EU servers.
Yes, and thank you to Eldritch and all of our Patreon for supporting us. You can go find their company posts as well as other company posts over there at newworldfans.com on the company tab. Guys, thank you again for listening. We really appreciate it. Always good to be in your ears. We are working on some more special guests coming up. I think Brian promised us that he would be on the podcast on his podcast.
He did.
So,
yeah, he did.
So we definitely expect Ginger Prime on the podcast coming up soon, and some exciting other new guests. So we are, again, just very thankful for you guys' continued listenership on the podcast, and we hope to see you on another episode of New World to Go.